let's get into, if anyone knows me, they know I love a good PowerPoint slide. So guys, I'm going to be reliant on you guys letting me know that you can see that. Can someone just type into the chat that you're able to see my screen? Yep, yay. Thank you, guys. It's always good to know it's working. Technology is fantastic until it doesn't work. So, and then it's a problem. Yay. All right, let's go. So this is a bit of an interactive talk today. So I do want you to think about your own goals and dreams for this year along the way, and you don't have to do it as thoroughly as you have to, but if you can just take a moment and think about your 2026 visions, goals, dreams, maybe write one or two of them down or at least have them on hand. Because as we go through this today, I wanted to kind of put it into context for you. I've got some examples, but I wanted to put it into context for you so that, yeah, you could really think about what I'm speaking on in relation to your dreams, your goals, because it will bring up some interesting thought for you. And the idea is that, we're going to get into alignment with metaphysical principles in terms of, you want it, but does your goal want you? That's a really interesting one. You might want it, but does it want you? So this is a bit of a different perspective. If you've heard James and I bang on about universal laws and various things like that, there's lots to talking to the quantum and to bringing goals into reality. I'm hoping this will be a bit of a different bent for you today. So we are going to go a little bit into, not a lot into the law of intention. We're going to talk about relationships and being in relationship with your dream or goal and the law of action as well. And we're going to talk about how you can unpack what you're thinking about and look at it in a new light. Because it's not enough to just say, hey, I want to achieve these three things this year. We really have to start looking at how are we in a connection and relationship to that thing, just like we're in a relationship to business or money or lovers or friends or family. We are in a relationship to our goal. If you have set a goal or a dream or a vision, it's now formed a relationship with you. And how you feed and grow and understand that relationship is how you will manifest it or not into the quantum reality. So let's get kicked in. So going to go through your relationship to your goal. We're going to go through the 4 quadrants of action and up-leveling your identity around getting something. Because if you're anything like me, some of your goals and your dreams are that you might be setting this year probably are ones that you haven't had or you want, therefore you don't currently have it. So therefore, your identity needs to shift to get it. Because if you already were there, you'd have it already. So it's a big part of it. So let's start off with the basic principle is that the universe is a mirror. Let's face it. As you walk around this sea of energy, we're all walking around a sea of energy. The quantum is always mirroring back to us the energy that you put in. So what you seek, what you dream about, what you expect, and what you say yes and no to is actually what's appearing in your mirrored reality. So, for example, if I don't like something and I don't say no or express my doubts or wants around that, it's a silent command of the universe that what I'm getting is okay. So this is particularly hard for people that find it hard to express their needs or speak up for themselves, because by saying nothing, you're just saying, oh, I'm okay with that. So saying a clear yes or a no is part of a sacred intention setting. Yes, I want that. No, I don't want that. And what's really interesting is if you set a goal and you start to see something come along that looks something like it, but it's not quite right, it's good to say no. No, I don't want that. That's not going to be right for me. So it's so important to have yeses and nos really clearly all the time. Because if you say no to 5 different things, the universe might offer you a 6th, and then you might go, yeah, that's what I want. So it's always reflecting. So whatever is happening around you in the quantum is your construct. And so you have the ability to change it or create it, which is cool. It's also annoying if something's happening to you that's happening again and again, because you know that you're doing it ultimately on some level. So the law of intention says that everything you do starts with intention. And if you saw my previous end of year talk and New Year class, if you haven't, get in touch with me, because we talk about the intentions and what you actually want. So if you already know that, you don't need to go over and do that again. But your intentions of what you want, the theme of how you want your year to play out, the habits, the projects that you choose, they're really important to intend. and not loosely intend. It's really good to be clear with intention. This is what I'm seeking. This is what I'm planning. This is what I'm aiming toward. And there's a really good analogy that I heard once. I'm trying to remember where I heard it from, but I'm going to share it with you. Can you imagine that you went in to order a burger and you went into the shop and you just said, give me a hamburger. Just give me a burger. And they're going like, well, is it chicken, pineapple? Is it vegan burger? Is it like a beef burger? Do you want cheese on that? Do you not want cheese? You don't just walk in and you ask for something very broad. So it's really beautiful and incredible to be as intentional as you want or can be, so that you actually are saying, here's what I'd like. And there's an infamous story, and I love this story that I heard in a class, that someone was like putting it out there that they wanted millions of dollars, and their intention was they want to be surrounded by millions of dollars. And they ended up having a car accident with an armor guard truck, and then the truck spilled over, and all the takings from the bank spilled onto the road around their car. And they were surrounded by millions of dollars. Just wasn't theirs. I thought that was a really funny analogy, but yeah, you need to be specific. You need to get excited about your burger choice. Like, what is it that's really excited? If you've done any study with us around energy, we know that the heart is 5,000 times more electromagnetic than the mind and the brain. So the idea is the heart has to be uplifted. Like, if you get the feeling and the excitement and the love for something, you actually start changing the torus field of energy around your heart and your body, and it starts to magnetize that energy. So that's really exciting as well. So the importance of really getting excited about your dream or goal. If you go too broad, it becomes watery and nothingness. That's really important. It becomes very, yeah, untangible. The problem that a lot of people have with their goals is they end up being too specific on how the burger is cooked and delivered. So if you've got a goal and if you go into a shop and you say, like, I want a chicken, pineapple, gluten-free hamburger with extra avo, and then you say, I want you to cook it for this long on the grill, and I want it done this way, and I want it served on this kind of plate, that's when you start to get blocking with your goal, because you don't know how the universe is going to deliver it to you. Maybe the burger joint has a unique slow cooked chicken style that you would never have thought to ask. And maybe they deliver it in a particular way, or they plate it up in a way that's better. Or maybe they make their sauce. And the problem with people setting goals is often they try and break it down and like have a controlled, logical way of manifesting it. So the thought is be really intentional about what you want, get excited about it, be specific, but not how it's delivered. I would even suggest that if you force time frames, you start to block the flow as well. It's not that you, say to the universe, "Oh, give me my goal whenever," but yeah, trying to force times and the ways that it works is actually a blocker to intentions and goals coming toward you. So it's letting go of that over-controlling, limited, programmable mind and tapping into like a universal intelligence of it's exciting and it's magnetic. And there's that Rumi quote, what you seek is seeking you. If you seek it, it will come back to you at some point. That's the first part of intentions. Secondly, which is really important, is the law of relationship. And I want to go on about this because we are in relationship with everything in our life. And I've written a list here, the earth, the sky, the trees, the animals, your parents, your colleagues, your friends, food, your bank account. You have a relationship with your bank account. You have a relationship to money. You have a relationship to your body and fitness. You have a relationship to the mobile phone that you carry around with you. So when you set a goal, you are in direct relationship. You start a relationship with that goal. And if you've got something like money or some sort of financial goal, start thinking about what your current relationship with money is like. Do you fear it? Do you obsess over it? Do you stalk it? Does it like give you this gritty feeling, oh, I don't have enough? Or are you greedy with it? Are you wasteful with it? Because if you have a relationship with that thing that's already troubled or stuck, it's going to be a harder goal for you. Doesn't mean you can't get it. It's just that the relationships, or it's like you've got a history. And if you have history with a partner and you've said some nasty words to each other, or there's something that's happened, that kind of lingers in the field and you have to kind of reset it. So I want to talk about that today because we're looking at connecting with our goal or dreams on an energetic level, because we can do the physical stuff, but as we know, that's half the equation. So I want you to really think about, the relationship that you have. And I'm going to give you time to pause and think about that in a moment. But you are in relationship to your goal. So think about you right now. You are sitting here right now and you have a goal that you want. So that already there's two energies. There's you and there's the energy of your goal, something that you want. And in between is the relationship, the energy. It's almost like a bank account where you bank money into it, or you create this relationship. And as soon as you create it, it gives you like this magnetic pull, like there's 2 points in space-time location. There's where you are right now, and then there's your goal somewhere ahead of you or be beyond you. And how you feed that relationship, how you nurture it, how you understand it. And we're going to talk about that today, and how you transform it are the keys to making this a good, healthy, dynamic relationship, a sacred relationship where it starts to flow toward you. That's as simply as I can put it, is like there's this relationship between it. And if you think about people, if you're married or in a partnership or a couple, there's the goal, or the other is your partner, and you're both feeding this relationship, right? So you have to put energy into that, entity of relationship, that love. Then there's a third person in your relationship, and that's the joint couple. So that's just a really interesting thought around how you can see your goals and dreams. And if you go on from that, I'm going to use this concept of, like, if someone's got, a lot of people have diets, weight, health, that sort of stuff when they start their new year. That's a common one. So is money. There's lots of different ones you could choose, but I'm going to choose the one to food. If you're losing weight or you're trying to get fit or healthy, for example, think about the relationship to food, and not just one dimension, but think about this. And this is how I want you to break down your goal. What's your relationship to food generally? Like, how has that been for you? I've got a beautiful client of mine that grew up in a family that were really poor and they didn't have enough. And she talks to me about how she's like obsessed with having enough food in her fridge, and she can't get enough food in because, she's had restriction of food, for example. But what's your relationship like to preparing food? What's it like to cook it, to prepare it? Is it a chore? Is it nourishing? How is it when you prepare it? What about eating out? What's your relationship like to eating out versus eating at home? Is that different, or how is that relationship playing out when you're having someone else cook and give you that experience versus making your own food at home? What about eating with screen time? People eat like in front of the television or on mobile phones, or what's that like? What about time? Do you make time to cook and eat properly, or are you rushing, or are you obsessing all day about what you're going to cook for dinner that night, and then food's like, wow, she's so obsessed with me? Where do you eat? Do you have body awareness of how full you are or what the food's doing to you? Are you aware of whether the food's being cooked with an energetic love or not? Do you know what hunger, full or empty, feels like from food? And what's that like for you? And so if this is something that you're trying to do, and that is trying to like reset your relationship to food and diet, these are the questions and the things that you have to think about when you're in relationship with that. Same goes with money. Do I fear it? Do I stalk it? Do I get worried about bills coming in? Do I get concerned about when my next paycheck's coming in? Do I resent, not earning enough? Am I reckless with my spending? That was my problem a lot in my younger age. My parents were very reckless with money, and I copied their recklessness. So that was really interesting. And what about food shared with others? I had a beautiful friend of mine that had three really crazy brothers, and she was the girl in the household. And she said that like dinner time was a nightmare. You had to grab what you could get and run because they would just take the food. So interesting. She had an interesting thing about sharing food with other people. There wasn't an easy way of doing that. So the questions you might ask yourself around eating is, do you rush eating? Do you lack respect for what you put in your body? Do you eat on the run? Do you get annoyed? This is my one. I have to cook again. It's like, do I have to cook again? Do you obsess over it? Is there a lot of food noise? So, that's so that I want you to think about your goal, what you're trying to do, and start to, or if it's finding love and connection, like, yeah, how does that, what are some of these questions you might ask yourself about your past relationship with that topic or the current one? And how does that either feed or detract from your goal? Because if you've got some issues in these areas, this is the idea of intention setting is to like maybe sift through some of these old ways and give a healthy depth around it because these things need to be put to bed and resolved so that, yeah, your goal flows to you. Because if you don't resolve them, there's a fracture in the field in that relationship to that goal, and it will be harder to get. I'm not saying it's impossible, it'll just be harder. And I don't like hard, I like easy and flowing if you can. And of course, we've all got our thing, right? Yeah. The other thing around food is do you wildly swing between binging and dieting? That used to be something I used to do quite a lot in my younger age was I wouldn't binge as in and diet as in extreme, but I would I would like be too loose with my eating and then I'd like be tight, super tight and strict, and then that wouldn't work. So it's a pendulum. The law of polarity says if you go extreme one way, you'll have to come back and go extreme the other. So being in the middle is good. So take a moment now. If you guys have, I know a couple of you joined late, but I'm just talking about the first part of really having a sacred intention around your goals is what's your relationship like with your goal? So whatever your vision or goal is for this year, whether there's a few of them, maybe pick one. What sort of relationship do you have with this goal? Like I said, some people go into fear, like I have to have it because I'm not going to be okay without it. Or if it's there's a lot of healers in this course that are wanting to be launch their own businesses and to go really well in their own practice. Obviously, we have a school teaching people energy medicine and coaching and timeline regression. I know a lot of people that want to have a successful, thriving personal healing practice get really scared by the social media aspect of it or putting themselves out there or being seen. So if your goal is I want to get out there in the world and share my incredible healing work, is the relationship with being seen damaged to start, and how do you start working through that? Because if you're afraid of being seen or you're playing small, then what do you think that goal is going to be like to get this year if that's what's still playing out? You haven't got to resolve it all at once, by the way. It's just being aware of it. And sometimes that awareness, gives you that answer. One of the things I want to, and while you're thinking on that, one of the things I want to bring to your attention is if you put out a statement into the field or a goal, or you express a vision, the universe or the quantum will do two things, two very specific things. The first thing it will do is it will bring up any resistance, and then it will bring up resource. So it's not all blocks. It'll say, here's your resistance, and it will bring to you an annoying level of resistance that, you can't ignore. So watch for the resistance. I'm actually telling you to actively find it. Rather than it slaps you in the face, actively find your resistance. Video back on, I'll let someone in. Yeah, actively find your resistance because the universe will show you, the quantum will tell you. And then when you found that, start to look for the resources. Because if you state a vision or a goal to the quantum, it will also give you the people, the resources, the opportunities to overcome it. It's like it's a universal impossibility not to get both resistance and resource. So what do we do with those two things? Well, we turn resistance to resource. We look at it, we step into it, we lean into resistance and we work through it. And then we look for all the parts that can help us. And one of the biggest blocks to goals in anyone's life is asking. Can I have? Will you give me? Asking for a resource, money, time, people's love, people's ideas, people's feedback. Just simple requests that we don't always think that we can do. So that would be your moment to, have a little scribble down if you haven't already. What sort of relationship do you have with your goal? Because if you're scared of it or fearing it, or it's an ultimatum, like a threat, like if I don't do this, I'm not in a good way. That's a tight, hard goal. setting process. You'll just push it further away because fear repels things, not flows with it. All right. The other thing that I want you to think about, and again, if you've got questions brewing along the way, please save them for the end because I will be having a chat with anyone that's got questions. The four quadrants is a really great holistic approach to understanding what might be a resistance in the field around your goal. So if you're starting to go, well, how would I even like look at resistance to my goal? What might that be? So I always love these four quadrants. The physical and mental are more the yang. And when I say yang, they're more the logical, structured, doing busy sort of goals. We're usually pretty good at those. What are the physical tasks I have to do? What are the mental planning I have to do to get a goal or a vision? Most people in the Western world are pretty good at their yang abilities, or at least not all of us, but there's a certain level of that. And then there's the emotional and the spiritual, which is more the yin, which I guess you could say masculine versus feminine, yin being feminine, yang being masculine, but it's more about the softness. So what you could do, and I've got it in the next slide, is thinking about your vision and goal and dream and going, okay, where in what quadrant would I be having my most amount of resistance or shadow? Because that's really what the quadrants will pull out. And I've got a couple of questions, but there's multiple questions for these quadrants, and I've got a couple I'll share. But yeah, if so, so again, you're thinking, what's the relationship I have to my goal currently? And out of these four quadrants, where am I sort of gappy, or where might I be struggling more with these four? Because we, there's four layers of us. There's our physical body, our mind, our thinking, our emotional, our heart, and of course our spirit, our soul, spirit, high self. There's all these parts to us. So that goal or vision is through all of those fields. And which field is it getting snagged on? Which one is kind of snagging for you? And you become a little bit of a metaphysical detective around which part is snagging. And it's really nice to break it down like this because, you know, maybe you physically and mentally know what to do to get the goal, but your spiritual, you don't really want it like on the level that you think you want it. Or maybe you're spiritually aligned, you're mentally on board, but your inner child's having a massive tantrum. Your emotional self. For example, going back to that food example, maybe, if you're putting yourself on a strict diet for your New Year's regime, maybe your inner child's having a meltdown, like, on the floor going, no, I don't want to do another diet. Or if maybe spiritually and emotionally you're ready to do something, but you're physically not strong enough, or there's not enough physical resource in your life. For example, that I've been speaking to a lot of people lately around being healthy and well and vibrant as you get older. And some of the people I've been speaking to have said, my physical body isn't as strong as I need to be. I need to do more like building of my physical strength, my muscles, my whole body needs to be stronger to do what I want to do. So maybe you're emotionally on board, you're spiritually on board, you have a mental plan, but your body hasn't got the strength to carry it out. So maybe that's where you're addressing what you're needing to do. That's an example. Most people have their mental plan and their physical actions. They don't think enough about the emotional and the spiritual. So let's have a look at what they mean. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't done a class with me before and you're wondering what shadow is, you probably already know, but I just suddenly thought, I mentioned back here, address your shadows. A shadow is a darker aspect of yourself that you avoid, dismiss, or hide. It's a conflict or a fracture that troubles you. It can be very intense, like a hate or a fear or an anger, or it can be a repeating pattern around getting in trouble with money, or having toxic love affairs, or addictions, or it can be anything where you're repeating a fracture or a part of you that's undesirable. And what's really interesting about shadow, and the reason it's called shadow is because it's in the dark, it's repressed or hidden or stuck, and it doesn't have anywhere to be illuminated. And the idea of shadow is that when we put light onto it, it starts to dissipate. And if you think about what light is awareness, kindness, delving into that sacred time with yourself, looking within, getting help, and light is really resource. It's a spiritual resource of, hey, I want to illuminate that shadow with light and allow it to disintegrate and not to have a strong hold over me. That's a really big one. And we have known, unknown, and golden shadows. Known ones are usually what you're dealing with. I know I get stuck on this, or I know I have a problem with my money, or I know I can't express myself, or I'm worrying about putting myself out there as a healer in the healing industry, or I know I always have a falling out with my siblings and parents and the black sheep of the family, whatever that is. Unknown ones are trickier. They're ones that you are probably more in your subconscious, um, that you're unaware of. And then golden shadows, which I won't go into in detail. If you've done my coaching course, you'll know what your golden shadow is. But ultimately, it's that part of you that's incredibly beautiful and amazing. You've just had it suppressed most of your life. That's big. Usually your golden shadow is like your life purpose. And I'll give you a really quick example of that. One of my golden shadow was suppressing my spirituality, my feminine side. So I grew up in a very toxic male household where that wasn't very safe to be. So I had to like really suppress that. And then when I actually allowed that to come through, my whole career is spirituality and dealing with the spirit and the feminine, the divine. So yeah, very interesting. So yeah, that's a shadow. So how would we look at the shadow in relation to all four quadrants? These are just some ideas. And I want you to think about your goal. Don't think about other people's, think about yours. If you were to look at the spiritual plane, why do I even want this goal? Like, have you thought about why you might want it? Why is it really important to you? And then the other thing you would definitely ask, which is the relationship question, is what are my evolutionary lessons or blocks teaching me? Why haven't I got this goal? Or what's the quantum mirroring to me? Because if you're getting stuck with that vision or goal, or it's thwarting you, then this is an evolutionary lesson. And when you get that lesson, I promise you that wall will come down. It's probably one of the most profound things you can do, is to ask, what's my evolutionary lesson teaching me, or how am I evolving as a spirit in this human avatar in this lifetime? What am I learning? And when you get that and that integration happens, and you realize what the quantum is showing you as your reality, and you figure it out, your goal suddenly starts to become like a match. If you resist it and you're blocked and you're like, oh, I don't know why this is happening, this is so frustrating, I always get stuck here, and I'm a bit kind of victim mentality, and even though I know you wouldn't be thinking that, that's when the goal will become harder and harder and harder. So the spiritual questions around shadows, why do I even want it? Because maybe it's outdated. Maybe your goal is outdated. Maybe you don't even need it anymore, or maybe it's an old part of you that doesn't actually fit you anymore. So that's a big one. So maybe think about that for you in your goal. The second one, and I love this one, is what toxic emotional ties do I have to this goal or the world around me? Again, that comes into the relationship question. Do I have a toxic emotional tie around the goal of money or love, or my business, or maybe I'm just not growing up or adulting? Like, where am I arrested in my development? I have seen the most incredible high performing CEOs do the most incredible, insane business vision stuff. And when they come to their personal relationships, they're like a child, like tantrums and like just can't cope, can't communicate, can't be emotionally connected. Or I've seen the opposite as well. I've seen incredibly emotionally connected, calm, awesome sort of relationship people, but when it comes to money and driving a business, they're like not grown up. And it's not a judgment, it's just, where do I need to manage my emotional state or start to work on that? But that first question is so paramount to the relationship you have to that goal. Because if you failed at it a lot in the past, you will have some fear and trauma around that. Or if your family doesn't think it's a good idea, then that will be tricky. So your cultural and social programming, maybe like when I was leaving my board level advertising role, when I was like the head of a board of directors, I don't think any of my colleagues or family wanted me to go study and do healing. Like they were like, I was like fighting a crushing tide, and that was like 24 years ago, 25, almost 25 years ago. And healing wasn't even that mainstream back then. It was coming into sort of more of a, thing. But yeah, that was definitely tough for me to fight through that judgment and yeah, what people did or didn't want me to do. Interesting one. That's the emotional. The physical one is how am I taking directed action? So law of action, law of commitment to the goal. So I've met people that are great with their spiritual, emotional, and maybe even mental, but they're just not taking the action or they're delaying. So that's really interesting. If you're good at taking action, ignore this quadrant. But if you're not, or you don't plan it, which might come to the mental, that's you need to start to go, how do I put some physical, tangible action behind my goal? It's not how the goal flows. It's more, what are you committing to and how are you actually taking steps? Because for every action, there's a reaction. So, and I've said this to people before, if you call someone, someone will call you back. Or, if you move, like, if you move away from a dining table, your chair, like everything's reacting to your movement. So as soon as you take action, it's just an extraordinary thing that happens. So if you get stuck in your goal setting and you just take a series of actions, even if they're not even that planned, and you watch the reaction. The other thing about physical is what material resources do I have available to me for change? What do I have to ask for? Do I need to learn money? Do I need to ask? Do I need to step up? What do I need to ask for? Do I need to ask for more time from my partner? Do I need to ask for, quiet time? Do I need to ask, I'm going to go in this training, please babysit my kids or animals, or, what is it that you need to ask to get it? We're not good at asking. We're really not. So start to step up in your asking and your resources. So after this call, write down all your resources. What have you got available and what do you need? And if you haven't got them available, go find them. I have no problem in asking someone for something if I need it. I used to. I can't borrow money or I can't ask for that. I'm even to the point where just give me the money. I want to pay you back. If someone says to me, I'll give it to you, don't worry about paying me back, I'm like, fantastic. Like, whereas people are like, oh, if I have to borrow money from my family or someone I know to get something, oh, I'll pay you back. Or maybe if they've got it, let them give it to you. I love that one. Just ask for it and say, do I have to give it back to you? And if they say yes, sure. And then mental, do I have a clear vision goal? Now, I worked with someone that was such a brilliant coach, counselor, healer, but she didn't actually have a clear vision around where her business was going, and she didn't have the intention set. So that's really important. Having the clarity of where, not how all the time, but where you want to go. And how do you get your inner critic, fear, addictions out of the way? Because, it's a mental game. And if you haven't figured out by now that connecting to your spiritual self means wrangling your monkey mind, then make a note, because your mind can thwart you or love on you. And you have to train it. It's no getting around the mind. It's like, oh, I work with spirit, not the mind. Nope. The mind is in the game. And in fact, the bridge between soul and mind is the superconscious. So you need to actually bridge your soul body down into your superconscious mind, your organizing computer chip, to then give instructions to the logical mind and the subconscious mind. So your mind has to be part of the game. So if you think you can sit it to the side and tell it to rack off for a while, no, you have to love it and you have to train it. Training the mind is a big one. And the other thing about the mind is, am I taking command of my situation or am I controlling things too much? We suffocate our goals when we control it. So if you think you've got to control every step and work out all the hows, a bit like the burger analogy for those of you that saw that. If you have to how it's served, how it's cooked, how it's delivered, and then you're overseeing it and micromanaging it, that is a sure way to suffocate. You take all the oxygen out of this beautiful universal flow. Because if you think about it, this whole world works intelligently without your control. Your heart beats, all your organs work. You don't tell yourself to breathe. Breathe now, breathe now, breathe now. Heart, beat, beat. You go insane. So this works beautifully without your control if you just allow to step back and put out those commands and expect to breathe and expect to have your heart beating for you, and then just not overly micromanaging it along the way. That's really important. So I would encourage you, if you haven't taken a photo of this screen, maybe do so. I might try and post that up in the replay underneath. But yeah, that they're really good questions to start asking yourself around your 2026 visions. And if you've got a very broad, big, beautiful, creative vision, they're still relevant. These questions are still relevant. Or if it's very tangible, they're super relevant. So like I said, if you take the time and awareness to investigate your shadow in relationship to your goal, then you are going to jump so much further forward this year around getting what you want. And it is about the time and energy to give to yourself. And I do call that sacred time. There's that sacredness of going, I am worth sitting down and investigating. I am worth questioning and looking at myself and looking after myself. You're the most important person in the world. And if you don't think that, then your goal for 2026 should be, I am the most important person in my life. Which comes to the last bit, and this is not a long segment, to, probably, I'm not saying it is, but probably your goal means an up leveling of your identity. So for the new you to emerge, the old part has to die. There's an old part of you that's going to have to die. Like I say in my coaching course, you can't turn 12 and 13 unless you death off 12, or when you become a mother, you death off the maiden energy, or when you become a leader, you death off staying small. So you might want to ask yourself, how does someone that already has this kind of goal or vision, how do they act, behave, speak, cultivate relationships? I'm going to come back to that. I've bolded that. What tribe do they hang out in? Because, even that tribe question, healers hang out with other healers, runners hang out with runners, drug addicts hang out with drug addicts, party people hang out with party people. It's like, how do you up level your identity around how you show up for yourself? Even the words that you speak, spelling, I cast a spell, like I'm talking, my energy from my sacral comes up through my field and out through my throat chakra to express what I want to say. That has energy, that has purpose and meaning and energy. So that's really important. So if you want more abundance, or to launch a business, or to have something, if you want to launch a healing business, for example, don't sit behind a desk and put like one little social post once a week and hide. Get out there, talk to people about what you do. If you want to start your work in a certain area, hang out with those types of people, spend time in those containers, show up, talk that language. Like that's the ethos of what you want to do. So it's really important. It might mean some big life changes, and I'll talk about those in a minute, but this is really important, to cultivate the right relationship to yourself around your goal, with your goal, and others, because we are a community and we do feed off each other. So the kinds of people that you hang out with and connect with will either push you further to your goal or away from it. So interesting. It'll either push you further, like the food one, like we talked about. If you hang out with people that have recklessness around food, your diet will be worse. So it's like, how do I, really spend time with the people or the areas or environments that support me? I've asked this for a lot of us in this course are trying to start or to ramp up their healing businesses. Do you fear it? Do you fear your business? Do you fear failure? Do you fear worrying about whether you're good enough? Do you fear putting yourself out there? Because fear is so limiting. If you want to pour water on a fire and put out a fire of your goal, put fear on, because fear and control are best friends. And together they hate you. Well, they don't hate you. They're your worst enemy, really. So fear is a big one. It's really important to think about that. Sometimes you do need a bit of a phoenix event. For anyone that knows me, I'm obsessed with phoenixes, which is a big death and rebirth of self. Sometimes you need that big phoenix event to really like blast out an old version of yourself. So if you're going for something really beautiful and incredible as a goal and it's big, sometimes you will have to have that big deathing off phoenix-like event in your life where it's a cathartic change. And, it can be the way you want to live. Like I've put down some of these ideas, like maybe it's the way you want to live. I don't want to live in this city or this place or in this house or with this person. Sometimes it's a massive transformation around who and where you live. Sometimes your chosen career path is dead, like you're done with your career and you're ready to change, or there's just a massive career pivot, and it's complicated and it's clunky, but again, it's a phoenix moment. It's worth it. Sometimes to get your goal, you have to realize the tribe or the friend circle you're hanging with don't really match. They clash with who you are, and you have to shift. And I remember speaking to someone, they're in their late 50s and they were getting right into this work. And she just said, I've just lost like 10 of my friends. I just can't connect anymore. And that was a massive cathartic change in her life around the tribe that she hung out with. And sometimes you just have these sudden and powerful spiritual awakenings and you're just blowing your mind, and your whole world turns upside down. I've had those and people have gone through those. Sometimes that's what happens when you go for a big goal. Sometimes you just have this massive pivot, and you have to lose all of that external scaffolding and all those control measures you put into place, and you have to free yourself. And that's a very scary time. For those of you that understand the void, it's a big void moment when that happens. The way I see the world changes. That's big. Sometimes that's what your goal requires from you. And if you're not ready to do that, that's okay. Just don't set that goal. You don't have to have that goal this year. It might be that it's a next year goal. But think about that one. Just remember that every time you go deeper, you're deepening your inner world. You're going through a layer. And when you go through shadow, it's like you're ascending, you're going inward and you're hitting a wall and you're feeling uncomfortable in that wall, and then you bust through to the next level of yourself. So just remember, it's a good thing to feel uncomfortable to get goals, because that requires you to feel a bit uncomfortable to deepen your relationship to your inner self. And when you move bandwidth into a new channel or a new identity of yourself, try and enjoy the evolution. Try and go, I know I'm uncomfortable, but look at what's on the other side. Or I know this is gritty, but I'm doing this because it's really important for me. So just remember that it's so important to try and understand that this is an evolutionary change and you're going deeper. And just remember the grittiness comes with it. I've never met anyone that's gone in a layer and hasn't had a gritty experience, including myself. Lots of gritty experiences. I still have them. So this might be a question you ask yourself in the next minute or after this class, is if you think about your big 2026 goal or vision, or you might have one or two of them in mind, what needs to death within you to achieve it? It might be, the part of you that stays small, a part of you that's fearful, or maybe it's a part of you that wants to hold on to part of your business or career that's just dying and dead and you just have to wash it away. Or maybe it's where you live. I mean, I know I'm deathing that this year. I'm moving place to a different climate. I'm needing to death off being in this hot, sticky Queensland weather in Australia. I'm deathing that. That's a very happy goal of mine at the moment, giving it a good go. But maybe you just need to death it off to be able to come back to what you're really after. There is always a death in a goal. Something has to go for something new to come in. That's the way that the whole world of yin yang works. So have a think about that. Yeah, doesn't mean you have to get rid of it right now. You just have to know what it is. So with your new goals and your new you, the idea is the sacred intentions is do the work, do your dirt time. A beautiful Indigenous person that was teaching James said that to him. They said, oh, do your dirt time? And James goes, oh, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, you have to get gritty and play in the dirt and really delve into yourself. Do your dirt time. So dirt time really means get gritty with yourself and real. Delve in and, why do you want this goal and how must you go to adjust the quantum to give it to you? So think about that. To get your goal, the quantum has to adjust. The field around you is adjusting. You're responsible for adjusting it. It's the mirror. So how deep must you go to change the mirror to reflect back something different? And that definition of insanity, if I always do the same thing and expect a different outcome, I'm going to drive myself insane. So if you want that goal, how deep must you go for the quantum to change and go, oh, that's what Debbie wants now, or I'll offer her this, or that's a difference. That's a change in the field. And then it will deliver you something different. And then it's up to you to say yes or no to that. Like I said, you need to do some really deep personal time with yourself to really sit, to reflect, to think. Don't think you have to act straight away. When you do this sacred work, it's about delving into it and then finding a peaceful place with it and really taking time to tune and calm and yeah, connect. It's really important.